Hello everyone and welcome to Submachine 10 The Exit. This is the final game in the Submachine series and it is quite long, which is so amazing. It actually came out 2 days ago and it took me that long to finish it because it is just that big of a game. So yeah, let's get started with this. This definitely won't be just 1 or 2 parts this time around. So yeah. This is obviously where we left off in Submachine 9. And right here we just saw one piece of all the Submachine games, obviously. Here right off the bat we find these fun floating things that we can mess around with, and a blue dot that we can't mess around with, unfortunately, except it lights up when we go close to it, so I guess it likes us. Right here we can look at some more parts of a stairway that we can play around with, which is insanely fun. And here we find a gate that we can also play around with some weird light beam things, so that's great. But here, we the King welcome you in the Northern Garden Docks. Anyone who seeks peace and calmness will find it under the leaves of our blessed Flore. Wasn't this exactly the same text that was in Submachine 7 at the start? I think it was Submachine 7. Anyway, here in the back we see a railway in the front actually, and it ends right there. But here we see some weird block things. I don't know what to call this. This one has a 1 on it, this one has a 2 on it. And in fact there's 2 more. This one has a 3 and this one has a 4. And on the third one we see that something has anchored here, so that's interesting for us. And this thing just says the same thing that the other one says. And here we find a ladder that is on that rail. And if we climb up it, we find a light sphere. So that's great for us. Power source, watch your step. Thank you for that. Looking down here, yeah, we can't activate this because something is missing here and our light sphere won't fit, unfortunately. So that is cause for depression, I'd say. Right here we find some more fun debris and a fun blue dot. And this is our first instance of these things where we can put light spheres. If we click on that, whoosh, we whoosh through the door. That's not a door, but it's a wall. And we have another blue dot down here, so that's friendly. Looking over here we find a machine that has 4 levers on that. And what does that remind you of? What else is there 4 of? Well, let's just take care of this quickly. If we head back through here, we see that now that we've set the lever to the 1 position, we see that the ladder has moved to the 1 position as well. So obviously we want to set that to 3 so that we can explore what that anchor is doing there. So let's do that, set that to number 3 and then take care of that later. Here we find a docking schedule with a bunch of stuff that we can't do anything with, and a backpack. And this is actually the only Submachine game where you actually get a backpack. How many slots are there? 18 times 2. Can you be bothered to calculate that? Because I can't. 36, I think. I hope I'm not wrong. We find a please enter ship ID number thing. Okay, we don't have a ship ID number, so that is unfortunate. And looking down here we find some broken stairways. The 1 broken stairway actually, I can count. Which we can't do anything with yet. But now let's go back and check out what's up here. We find a weird dome thing, so let's enter that. And we find a ship ID number, so I'm just gonna assume that this is a ship that we've just entered, and now we have left it again. Because we found a ship ID number. Hooray, everyone! That is exciting. Let's enter this here and get in return for it a bottle fuse. We can't take this back to us, which is just unfortunate, if you ask me. But we finally have a bottle fuse, and you know what we can do with that? We can absolutely power the ship, so that is wonderful. We have light now, so let's explore the ship. Over here on the left we don't really have much of anything, except we have a really weird room shape what the hell is this room shape? Like, what is that even meant to be? I wonder what that looks like when you zoom out all the way. Anyway, here we find a door valve. I'm kind of rushing through this. I should calm down a little bit. Just too excited to be playing Submachine 10, I suppose. Let's head back over here. And by the way, I know that there's like a lag on the room transitions, but you know, it's a Submachine game and that's kind of what you get. That's kind of like something that you just have to accept. Looking through here, on this weird viewfinder thing, we can't really see anything. If we pull these levers, then you can see that we turn on like axes on this viewfinder. And we can turn on the X, Y, and Z axes, and that doesn't really do much for us. But, you know, so it's a little detail, so it's nice. Let's go back through here, look up here. Insert captain's ID card. We don't have a captain's ID card, so that is unfortunate for us. Oh, and here there's a plaque on the wall and a red light, I guess. And it says S3C right here. And you have to keep that in mind, remember that well, because we will that will be important later. And I will mention that again. Here we find a spacesuit of some kind. Not entirely sure what that's for, but you know, it's here. And another phone dial, which we can rotate as always, which is very fun. And a ladder piston, which is amazing. I should stop saying which is after everything we find. Let's put this door handle in, and we can now open this hatch. And looking through here to the right, we find a karma portal. And yeah, let's head through that. Here we find ourselves in this weird perspective place. I guess we're looking up at the top of the tower, maybe? Not entirely sure, but we can head down here on this ladder. And we can't just choose to go down this ladder now, because that would be too much freedom of movement. So we have to head down this one, which is just the worst, like Jesus Christ. Let's open up this hatch, drop the ladder down there, and head down it. Here we find a hole in the floor, which is a very tempting secret, but you can't actually get to it, not even with our ladder piston. Ah, how unfortunate. Let's open up this door. Down here we find a statue of Saint Christopher, so thanks for that. Over here on the left there is a weird machine that has everything set to red, and we can't interact with that at all, but still remember that this is there because it will be important later, just like everything. I'm gonna conveniently ignore this place for now. Statue of Saint Alexius of Rome. And a thing that we can open, but that doesn't really do much for us. And more floating debris. Actually, you will find that there's even more floating debris here, and even more floating debris here. And that was that for the floating debris report for today. Down here, we find a circle thing with a bunch of stuff attached to it, but some of it broke off. So yeah, this doesn't really work anymore. And you might think that our ladder piston probably goes here, but it doesn't. So that is unfortunate. Heading back up here, let's go look at that machine for now. Okay, so this is actually the main gimmick of Submachine 10. Each of the Submachine games always has a weird gimmick, I guess, except a couple of them. Like Submachine 1 and Submachine 2, they don't really have gimmicks. But anyway, this should look familiar to us. Let's push this button, and now it should definitely look familiar to us, because this thing was in Submachine 4, and except it was more complex, and this time it's like a little more streamlined. So we can push these buttons and unpush them, and basically, depending on what setting we set them to, we will teleport to a different location. So let's set it to 001. So we will go through these in the order of binary, and that'll be exciting because binary is the best. So 001 is obviously the equivalent of 1, and 000 is the equivalent of 0, and putting it to 0 we will go back to this main place here. So let's put it to 001 and find ourselves in a pyramid-like place And you might think, he called it a pyramid-like place because there's a pyramid, but no, it's actually shaped like a pyramid, which we can do if we head up all the way here. We see that we have one screen. We can't move to the right or the left, but we find a picture of some hieroglyphs, so thanks for that. So we can't move to the right or the left, but if we head down there, we see that we now have 3 screens that we can move on, and you can also see in the ceiling here that it's slanted. So yeah, this whole place is in the shape of a pyramid, just like the temple in Submachine 9 was. We found a thing, another pair of hieroglyphs, so now we have 2 of those. Thank God. And this, whatever that would be called, doesn't have much for us, so I hate it. Right here we can set the hieroglyphs, but we don't really have enough information to complete this thing quite yet. Here we find ourselves back at the start, and here we have a weird receptacle on the wall that has some circlical, how do you call that? Round indentations for stuff to put in, so there we go. Let's head down to the bottom level of the pyramid. We find an Anubis head thing. We won't quite yet look at what that does. But here we see a... What is this? I don't know. Can't put a ladder piston in it, so I hate it. Let's try this Anubis head out. It doesn't really do much, right? Whoops, it did something. I'm not entirely sure how these work, but if you click on one, then you teleport to the other, so that's good. But if I were to go to the other one now and click on it once, then nothing would happen. But if I clicked on it again after that, then I would teleport back to this place, so that is just weird. Anyway, we find another one of these receptacles, except now we see that there's gears that are supposed to go there, so that's great for us. And heading back up here, we actually see that we are back to the start. So what these Anubis heads really do is they go from the far left of the bottom of the pyramid to the far right, and they just teleport us that way. And there is actually one little detail about this pyramid that is quite easy to miss, and that is that we don't have access to the room that's right below this pyramid right here, because as you can see we can't go through there. And heading over to the left, and then yeah, we can't go down there. We just can't. We can't go to the room below this, so that is unfortunate. Maybe we will be able to later. I actually kind of forgot. Let's go to 010, which would be the binary equivalent of 2, and check this place out. We find a range confirmator, so that's good for us. And a thing that we can't do anything with. Power all range confirmators before operating the hatch. You might think range confirmator here, but no, it doesn't go there. So we will just have to see what happens with that. Let's head over to the left here. We find a thing that no one knows what it is. I guess it sort of looks like a drill. I mean, I already knew that it was a drill, but I wouldn't have identified it as a drill the first time playing it. Release both drill clamps before operating the drill. Okay, here's the thing, can't do anything with it. How unfortunate. But we do find a drill clamp handle, and everyone knows where that goes. So let's open this up. Still can't operate it because we have to pull this lever, which is just bad design in my opinion. And we can now head through here. We find a range confirmator that's stuck in some sort of receptacle thing. So maybe we have to find a receptacle thing for our range confirmator, like the one right here. Beautiful. Hatch right here, we won't open that yet. We find another receptacle for these range confirmators, but we don't have a range confirmator. We're all out of them, so that is depressing. We find an airlock handle. Thank God for that, because now we can go all the way back to the left and open this airlock. And find another range confirmator. Also here on the left we find a rune. I was about to say glyph, but it's a rune, everyone. It's clearly a rune. Alright, so let's put our range confirmator in the slot where it's supposed to go. And now we can head back all the way back to the right here. And down. And now we can pull this thing. You can see that each of the range confirmators has activated one of these lights here, and once they're all green, we can activate that. So wonderful that is. Because I didn't want to say so that's wonderful again. That hatch is open now. We just opened it with the thing that we pulled. So let's head through that, and we find another Carmel portal. And this actually looks quite similar to what we found before, where a few things were missing. So that is interesting. Right now we actually find ourselves back on the roof, which is a place in Submachine 4 that we've seen before. So this is actually the starting place in Submachine 4, where it said you will find yourself in the lab or somewhere nearby, and then you find yourself on the roof of the lab, and everyone laughs because that's funny, I guess. So yeah, we are back here. There was actually a handle here, a valve here we put. That was the valve in Submachine 4, but now it's a karma portal, so I guess maybe valves evolved into karma portals, I don't know. I don't get the lore of these games. Force field plasma canister, we just deactivated a force field. But yeah, we got the canister for it, so that's totally worth it. Also, we can now pass through that and use another one of these things that make a pleasing sound. I like that sound that they make. We found our first note. I found my grave today. A proper tomb, in fact. Well, I guess that's bound to happen sooner or later if you're a time traveler. I've also found your tomb right next to mine. Oh, that's so sweet of them. Okay, so this note is actually quite interesting because in Submachine 9 you actually found the tomb of Murtaugh and the tomb of Elizabeth, and I guess this is the two talking about their own tombs right there. So now we know that in some timelines they are dead and in some they are alive. So that's quite exciting that they're still alive, or maybe they're not because these notes might be extremely old, so we don't really know anything. Exploration teams and restoration staff only. Right, so this is why we can't pass through that, because we aren't exploration team or restoration staff. And how unfortunate that is for us, right? By the way, I picked up this lattice tab and neglected to mention that, but now I have mentioned it, thank God, right? We can move this ashtray because we have the power of doing that now, so that's great. That doesn't really help us with our problem though. So yeah, we are pretty much stuck in the lab now. Can't really progress in that, so let's head back to the teleporter thing. I don't know what that's called. And look what's next. Okay, so here we have a weird sphere thing that's floating in space, and a pipe that we can walk on that's broken, but we won't quite enter that just yet because I want to go over here first and finish exploring this top bit of the domes, and we can enter the dome here. We find a conglomerate of wires that's all leading to one computer screen. Shiva, no permission to access. At root.ping / and that was that. Right here we find a plasma charge, and heading through here we can't pass this barrier, so we're stuck. So you have to go back. This thing is quite interesting because there's always been like the talk of Shiva as a goddess, so maybe someone wrote a program based on her or something like that. No one quite knows just yet. Okay, let's look in here, in this pipe. There's nothing going on there. Obviously this is the other side of that place, so that's great for us. Heading over to the left, our way is also blocked off, but we can still head down into a dome right here. And we find another conglomerate of wires, and a thing that we can turn. But each time we set it to a different setting than the one that it was initially on, it blocks our way back, so we can't really see what we change when we do this. So that is unfortunate, we just have to leave it at the default setting. So yeah, we can't really do much in this place just yet. Okay, so I think that's gonna do it for this episode. In the next episode we're gonna take a look at the other coordinates that you can enter here. The next one will be 100, which is the equivalent of 4, and that is exciting. I always need to tell you what the equivalent is because you're stupid. There you go. Okay, so yeah, see you next time everyone. Goodbye.